Welcome to Zentiva Sustainability Podcast. At Zentiva, we believe that each and every one of us can contribute to taking care of our planet and do what we can to protect it so that future generations can enjoy life as much as we do. We act today for a sustainable tomorrow, and as part of our environmental pathway, we find it important to educate and empower our associates, and we warmly invite you to join us and follow our new initiative, the Zentiva Sustainability Podcast, with a series of episodes where experts explain different areas of environmental protection.
My name is Veronica Ocasio, and I'm the Communications Manager in Zentiva, Czech Republic. Today we are talking about circular economy as one of the ways of managing and reducing waste. It is my pleasure to welcome our guest Roman Vdoviak, partner and head of consulting operation at Circle.com. The company runs digital market for waste, and their subtitle gives you a pretty good idea what they focus on: finding value of your waste materials. But Roman, let me ask you, how would you describe circular economy? Because not everyone is familiar with the term. So what can we imagine under it?
Thank you for the question and of course for the invitation. So for a long time, we have lived in a world where we focused on or lived in a world of linear economy, where the primary materials get extracted from Earth, then transferred to somewhere else in the world, produced into some kind of goods, and then once again distributed around the world. And then the consumers, of course, bought the new products. And then after the short life cycle finished, the materials or the products got trashed in a landfill or pretty much got disposed of, therefore not returning back to the cycle. So nowadays, in the world of circular economy, we focus on the sustainable production and consumption, and the goal is for the product and for the materials to circulate and to go back into the cycle and not to get disposed of on landfills and pretty much turn into waste or trash. It is pretty much available in each part of the circularity, because in circular economy, also the eco-design of the product is very important right from the beginning. And then we focus really on the materials to be more able to be repaired, to be refurbished, to be reused, to be shared. And even if we come to the end of cycle and the product turns into non-usable product, which nowadays it can become, or it becomes trash or waste. But if it was designed sustainably from the beginning, even at the end of the life cycle, it can be turned back into the materials and recycled and get back to the beginning, because it becomes then the secondary material that can be turned into new kind of products. Therefore, the waste doesn't become waste.
Thank you. That was a pretty great explanation. And if we could describe it a little more clearly, how is it actually helping the environment or protect the environment?
One of the goals, especially what we focus on in Circle, is that we reduce the amount of waste or trash that is made. Because of course, if the materials go back into circularity, we either reduce or completely erase the waste. Which is still very far in the future to absolutely have zero trash or zero waste. But nowadays we try to reduce it as much as we can. But then, of course, if we use those secondary materials, then we need less primary materials. Of course, the extraction of primary materials is slower than it was before. The same goes, of course, then for the CO2 emissions connected to all parts of the circularity, that it doesn't get higher than it is now or than it was.
So if I could summarize it, tell me if I'm correct, there will be less waste produced, and maybe that in sometimes the pictures of the trash beaches will disappear. Is that correct?
That's very far in the ideal future, but yes, that's the goal.
Okay, I know that you're based in the Czech Republic, but tell me, is it just a local thing, the circular economy, or is it a global trend?
The company Circle comes from Czech Republic, but even we are expanding to most of Europe now. And I would say that in Europe, most of European countries, the situation is very similar. The European Union itself has more and more action plans for circular economy, the new Green Deal, etc. And pretty much it becomes one of the most important terms in all of the legal documents, action plans, etc. So I would say in Europe, it's like one of the key areas right now. As for the world, of course, the importance is increasing as well, be it on all the green international conferences, but of course, then it depends between the developed and the developing nations on the level of importance they place on it.
All right, let's talk about a bit what your company is actually doing, because it's pretty interesting. From what I learned, you're running a digital market for trash, or a digital marketplace, actually. And as it's a Zentiva, I know that we're also participating in it, and we're giving some of the materials, packaging materials that we use to other companies or other subjects so that they can further use them. So how exactly does it work with this digital marketplace for trash?
How Circle operates, I would distinguish between the two main areas. The first one is this Circle.com or any other language mutation, which is a digital marketplace for waste materials, byproducts, or also the recycled materials which recycling companies produce, and then they can sell. And focusing on B2B sector, therefore not really the trash that we produce at home, but mostly on factories or others like bigger similar subjects. How it works is if you're a company that is producing waste, you can simply log in, put different ads or different offers of different types of materials that you are producing. And then the recycling companies also join from the other side. If they're interested in the material they see, in the ways they see, then they contact you, and you pretty much are already in communication and agree on specific terms and price conditions and quality of materials, etc. But then next to the marketplace, we also have our circular waste scans or some other projects. So as you can see, it's a cooperation between us and a company into much bigger detail, where we really go to the company, to the production plant. We'll look at all of the waste, on the quality, on the quantity, on the technology that they have, what they do with it, if they recycle it, send it to landfill, to incineration, if they have already any level of circular model set that they somehow recycle it and still use then the secondary material, etc. We also look at the prices. If the company is selling the waste for the current market prices, they are underselling it. If pretty much they have a correct system. And what we then are trying to do is to look for better solutions.
That's very interesting. What about some concrete examples of the waste that can be reused or resold, something that you see happening on the marketplace, or maybe even some curious cases? Would you have some examples for us?
Yes. So like the most common materials being put on the marketplace are usually mostly plastic materials. Like we have a lot of types of plastics, therefore it's a big mix of different plastic materials in there. The most common one I would say is the LDPE foil, which is the classic foil that cardboard boxes are being usually wrapped in. Therefore, each company that is like producing something, selling something, they have a lot of it. So that is the most common. As well as cardboard boxes or any other versions of cardboard, because also almost all companies produce it in some cases. Then it's wooden pallets, which, as you can imagine, they can be usually used for anything. But of course, with the industrial wooden pallets, then there is important what the company can actually do with them from the point of view of legislation. Materials that also appear a lot are different types of metals, but also building materials. If some constructions are being destroyed, and of course, then there is a lot of building waste coming with it. But also, we have now multiple projects, actually more than I would expect from the sphere of bio-waste. And maybe some curiosities of what got sold through the marketplace. For example, from Slovakia, there was once a metal bridge. Like a municipality, like they were renovating parts of cities and they tried to sell a metal bridge. and it gets old pretty quickly because it's metal, so it's pretty good material. But also, for example, there were some, the leftovers from theater once they stopped doing some kind of show. So, they had big chairs and a lot of similar stuff. So they tried to sell this. But also we had one company which had it was just a building material, but the solution that we found is that it's now being used for the beds for cats. So it was not a curiosity of a waste material, but a curiosity of a solution, I would say.
That's something I didn't see coming. That's really interesting. Thank you for sharing this with us. And we were talking a lot about circular economy for companies, what companies can do, but does it also exist on individual level? Can people as individuals somehow participate in circular economy?
Of course, it all comes always to the individual on how we behave at home, I would say. I think just separating waste at home is now a pretty big standard for most of the households, or at least I hope it is. But what is now also something that I see gaining on importance, and I'm really happy to see so, is that people are actually trying to think more and more about preventing the waste. Not really just sorting after it becomes waste, but also trying to act in their life that the waste doesn't even, come to exist. So I think that's something or a topic that is just going to be more and more, important for especially the younger generation, but for everyone as well. But yeah, I think the most important topics that we see also appearing is, for example, in the area of textiles. We see this waste material is being produced more and more with the fast fashion, and t-shirts costing €2. We can pretty much buy unlimited amounts and so on, and then we see how the amount is increasing. But so that is, for example, one of the things that is getting more and more popular. People actually starting to care more about buying more quality product than getting 50 t-shirts that will last for, let's say, 2 weeks or so. So I think that's something that could have impact on a bigger level if more and more people started thinking about it. And the same goes, for example, for electronics. We see that lately there is, new laptop, new telephone that we want to buy every year because we need the new version, the new updates, and so on. And I'm really happy that also the local or the European legislations, they are aiming to really focus much more on the old one being able to be repaired, refurbished, and so on. So this is also something I think can have an impact if each one of us thinks about it, because it's something that each one of us owns.
Thank you very much for the interview, and we'll see you at the next episode.
Thank you so much for the interview as well.